before the apology was to be delivered, I sent an email to UU Safety Net expressing my serious concerns, because it was clear that, you know, from what I could see, Jim Key was cozying up to the Reverend Dr. Peter Morales administration, and he didn't seem to be very forthright about clergy sex abuse issues. He completely failed to deal responsibly with the UUA's false blasphemous libel accusation against me. So I basically asked UU Safety Net not to accept an apology that was not acceptable, kind of thing, you know, and to speak out against the apology if it wasn't acceptable. And I also asked them one more time to speak out against the UUA's misuse of blasphemy law. Well, that didn't happen, and what did happen is that I think it was Thursday, the 27th of June of 2014, so just over 2 years ago now. Might have been the 28th. Might not have been Thursday, but I'm pretty sure it was Thursday, the 27th or 28th of June of 2016. The date isn't really that important. It can easily be determined by documents. Jim Key stood up and delivered his first moderator's report to a Unitarian Universalist Association General Assembly. Yeah, it's a good one, eh? So anyway, Jim Key sandwiches into the middle of his moderator's report his official apology to victims and survivors of clergy sexual abuse. So that alone I don't think is very appropriate, to sandwich your apology in the middle of a moderator's report, especially when you lead up to it with all kinds of self-deprecating humor and crap. Basically, people were laughing right up to the point that he delivered the apology, which is just ridiculous. So the whole setting for delivering the apology was flawed, to say the least. But what happens? Jim starts delivering his apology, and what's he doing? Well, he's playing down the extent and seriousness of clergy sexual abuse, clergy sexual misconduct. Only a small number of ministers, you know, are guilty of this. Well, no, actually 400 plus Unitarian Universalist congregations have been affected by clergy sexual abuse of one kind or another. But then he says the worst thing, the thing that I knew was a complete and utter lie. He said the following words: "There were no incidents of abuse of children or elders in my investigations." So he essentially was telling Unitarian Universalists that, hey, you don't have to worry, Unitarian Universalist ministers don't abuse children. That's essentially what he was saying. Yeah, there's been no cases of child sex abuse committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. He couched it in terms of, no, I didn't see any evidence of this in my investigations, blah, blah, blah. But essentially the message was, hey, you don't have to worry, Unitarian Universalist clergy don't abuse children. This is a complete and utter bald-faced lie. And I challenged that very quickly. It actually took me a while, a few days, to find the apology, because nobody was being very helpful in terms of, when and where this apology would be delivered. UU Safety Net never replied to my emails. I'm sure they got them, but they didn't, come back and say anything to me, one way or the other. So I had to basically scour around until I finally found the apology sandwiched into the moderator's report some days after it was delivered. And of course, once I became aware of that lie and the other ones, I blogged about it. And I can't say I was terribly polite. I referred to Jim Key's bald-faced lies, because that's exactly what they were. And I pointed out, exactly how, he was lying, and not just about the child sex abuse stuff, but Jim Key, within the context of dealing, or supposed to be dealing, with the UUA's misuse of blasphemy law, dropped the ball completely, and that was a bad sign. Like Jim didn't want to, deal with the fact that the UUA had falsely accused me of blasphemous libel in an effort to hide pedophilia and rape. So that wasn't a good sign at all. And the next thing you know, in his so-called apology to victims of clergy sexual abuse, you know, there's no mention of rape, there's no mention of pedophilia, and on the contrary, he plays everything down. It's basically an issue of Unitarian Universalist ministers. You know, the few times it happens, it's basically Unitarian Universalist ministers making improper advances to congregants, and, you know, maybe having an affair with a congregant, that kind of thing. Nothing too serious, you know. He completely did not address actual outright rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. He pretended there was no pedophilia at all committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers. And that's that. So, you know, it's just quite frankly outrageous how Unitarian Universalists go to extreme lengths to cover up not only pedophilia and rape, but you know, less serious forms of clergy sex abuse. Got a fair bit of pedestrian traffic today, and a few people coming out of the church. So I guess I'll stick around a little bit longer, and you know, sometimes I will even stick around until the service is over. You know, I usually just stick around for the first hour or so, but today, the way things are going, I see people leaving now, which is, it seems earlier than normal, unless I'm being here longer than normal. I think I will check the time. It's 11:30, so it's maybe 15 minutes or so early for people to be leaving, but hey, may have been a short service. Alright, so I think this segment of videos about to wrap up, or will do so in the next few minutes, so I guess we'll let it run. And well, let's see, let's have a look at the situation. Okay, 25 minutes and 5 seconds, which leaves 5 minutes-ish. I think I'm actually going to shut it down because there's not much happening now. Let the sensor cool and start another clip.